differentiating between God and his prophet, the right to life. Now, this topic, I chose this topic, it's not there in Jeremiah itself, but I chose the topic because from ancient times, if you hear that somebody has been killed, it's because they felt that he was probably talking about God. Okay? They would normally, whether good or evil, they would say a person who is talking about God is either a witch, okay, or a prophet, and is there in the Jewish history. Some may call it mythology, but it is there because it is a strictly guarded system of knowledge. So many of the times, the people got into killing the prophet because they did not want to hear about God, but refused to hear or to believe what he was saying. But when you look at it, even today, the same thing goes on. People persecute those they feel claim to be people, men of God or something, or followers of God. Even the Jews themselves, okay? They are persecuted because they claim to be special. They claim to be the only ones who have the knowledge of God. And so they face so much persecution over the centuries. But one thing we have to understand is that a very, very important principle in living in peace in this world is being able to challenge the forces that we feel we disagree with without imputing whatever they are doing to another person. For instance, the human being, okay? We struggle for resources, we fight for resources, is another thing. The fight for resources is another thing. But when we go into issues of religion, when somebody is practicing his own religion or his own belief system, not interfering with us, there is no need to pursue such a person. And this is just the foundation of this. And when we understand this and what is going on, we will discover that this is one of the secrets to peace. Next slide. Jeremiah 11, verse 1 to 23. When we read Jeremiah 11, 1 to 23, we discover that human beings, God is talking to human beings, okay? And the reason why he takes this tone is because human beings would rather eat to live, live to eat, rather than eat to what? To live. They are designed to be better than that, but they would rather be like that for one reason or the other. Next slide. They are created to have a sense of purpose, human beings. And this is an unconscious behavior. It's not something they plan, because if they actually plan it, they would do the opposite, okay? Because of difficulties that they face, they would do the opposite. So it is unconscious that a human being gets to a particular age and he begins to think of things that he did not plan to think about. If he planned, he would just decide, I'm just going to eat, okay? Just like an animal. I'm going to eat, sleep, wake up, eat, sleep, maybe play. But just naturally, he is given, and scientists will say because he has a bigger brain. Some of them are beginning to disagree. It's not because of the bigger brain, but it's a big topic, okay? But he just unconsciously begins to think of greater things. He is not content with living inside a hole, although our ancestors lived inside holes, caves, is that not? But they grew out of that. No, he's not content with that. He wants a better life, okay? Where he can see the sky instead of living in the dark. Let's go. There's a saying that goes, again, an idle man is the devil's work, or an idle mind, okay, is the devil's workshop. Because of this ability to go beyond the natural, okay, to act beyond just what an ordinary animal would do, if the human being is idle, he tends to do things that he's not supposed to do, okay, because of that greater ability, greater provision that God has made him with. The ability to imagine and see that thing come to pass. Okay? He thinks of something and that thing happens. He is not, and the reason why he thinks of that thing is because he is not content, okay, with just eating, sleeping, and waking up and playing and going back. Okay? He's not content with that. Next. So if he's idle, he will be subject to all the negative forces that are there in the world. Many of the ills of society are there because of idleness. Many ills, okay? If there was something different to do, they would not do that. If somebody wakes up and he goes and he attacks another person and kills the person, if he had another thing to do, okay, more progressive, and he had the resources to do that thing, he wouldn't do it. Okay? It is because he is pushed to the limit and he feels that is the only thing to do. Even the things that God calls sin are most of the time a product of idleness. People will go and they will gather and drink and get drunk. Why? Because there's nothing else to do. Okay? They are looking for something else, just something to occupy time. Next. Human beings have the choice to either live like animals or to live with a greater sense of purpose. Okay? There is a choice. We are the few that have a choice. Animals don't have that choice. Okay? Because they are not programmed to have it. They are not built for it. Okay? The best they can do is organize a hunt. And when they organize that hunt, like a lion can organize a hunt, and that is the greatest achievement of his life. And the other achievement will be the head of the pride. But the rest of the time he sleeps. There's nothing else to do. Herded animals, their life is very simple, okay? But human beings have that choice. They are the few creatures, okay, part of the few creatures on the earth that have a choice, whether to live just that kind of simple life or to yearn for a greater purpose and actually have that capacity to reach that greater purpose. But when we study the Bible and history, okay, we'll discover that Satan, his main goal is to stop human beings, okay, from reaching that purpose that God wants, has destined for them. But the Bible tells us in Genesis 1:26 that God created us in his image, and that is why we have this great purpose. Next. And in the Bible we will find two covenants. The covenants are deliberately built to help us from foundation. You see, so many people don't understand what the Bible is all about because they are not exposed to it, okay? And they were rushed into things like science. And when you are rushed into things like science, of course, it's the greatest thing, okay? You cannot see any other thing. But for the people of old, they did not have that choice, okay? So they had to go through the revelation of God through the covenants, through his covenants with their own people, okay? And his covenant with the Jewish people is unique in this life, okay? And that is why it became so popular, okay? And spread by his own doing, okay? That's how we know that he exists. That is why the Bible is so important. That's how we know that he exists, that the world is not just an accident, Okay? So this is the thing. There are two covenants in the Bible. The first covenant and then the second covenant. And the second covenant is the Christian covenant, okay? Which is a compromise between the Israeli covenant and universal reality. Because Israelites are not all that there is in the world, okay? So Christianity expands the covenant to the Israelites, to the whole of the world. And that is the work of Jesus Christ. Expanding that covenant to the whole of the world. But you see, the problem with that is that there already is that thing called sin, okay? Human beings are not perfect. They are greater than animals, but there's that tendency to be stubborn. And that is why they resist. Next slide. Some of the things that God is doing because they feel because it's from the Jews, okay? So it must not be good. It must be the one of my ancestors, okay? So this is what we see. Christian beliefs are not accepted by many around the world who refuse the authority of the Bible. Some of them for the reason that, okay, it's not scientific in their own minds, okay? And others merely, okay, it's because it's from the Jews, so it must not be right. So this is what has created the liberal culture, which is a confused state of between modern Christianity and ancient paganism, okay? Liberal as a word, okay, is a general word, okay? We are all liberal, yeah? Human beings are liberal. In fact, one of the reasons for sin is because of excessive what? Liberalism. And there is sin also is because of excessive what? Conservatism, okay? There's some sin that is from there too. But we are all liberal, and Christianity is a more liberal form of Judaism, okay? It's a more liberal form of Judaism in that sense. So the modern liberal culture, okay, that is coming from Europe and from the US, a lot of times is a dangerous form of liberalism, okay? It's a dangerous form of liberalism. And it's a confusion between Christianity, okay, and paganism, okay? That's a confusion between them. So let's continue. And it claims to want to stop jungle justice, but in other parts of the world, it is encouraging jungle justice, and it is also catching up with them in the United States, and also the jungle justice is still coming back and catching up with them. So it is a mutation, okay? It is not what Christ actually did, okay? It's a mutation of what Christ actually did on the cross. Next. These people try to express their anger against Christianity by targeting Christians. It's all over the world. They use cancel culture, okay? They use all sorts of economic suppression. They use all sorts of things just to destroy Christianity that they do not agree with. Some of them are even Christians. They claim to be Christians. Because Christianity, in its real sense, speaks against their gods, the gods that they worship. They cannot help but target Christians. Next slide. So tolerance and mutual independence is better than war and conflict. Okay? Instead of that form of liberal belief, which talks about tolerance sometimes, okay? We need to understand it in a deeper sense, that just because I'm a human being and the community is what I must do, okay, doesn't mean that I cannot live independent of somebody and be tolerant of that person, okay, and still survive. So it is a solution, okay, for the world today. Contentment. As long as I am content, I can live like that. I can be independent of somebody and be tolerant of that person. Okay? As long as I have contentment. So conflict is often precipitated by the desire to seize scarce resources. But we don't see that, okay? People don't have contentment, so they want to seize what belongs to the other person, feeling that I too am a human being, so I have a claim on it. Water, arable land, livestock, and minerals are up for grabs. Next. People want to live well, but often they don't want to go through the difficulty it takes to create a world worth living in. It is often unnecessary to pursue any group of people. This is what we need to understand, okay? Because there are enough resources in the world, both intellectual, okay, and natural, for people to survive. You don't have to pursue any group of people who do not agree with your way of life, as long as those people are not directly interfering with yours, okay? You don't have to. You don't have to. Next. And sometimes even if they interfere with you, you can ignore them, okay? Sometimes it's possible to ignore them. So this is what we saw last week, okay? And we see that in the Bible, what was going on and what was happening to the prophets of God was the beginning of what we see today, okay? Persecution, anti-Semitism is called anti-Semitism. And persecution of different tribes. There are other tribes that are also facing the same thing, because the rulers of the world believe they have something that they must, to access that thing, okay, they must have access. Those leaders of the world must have access to that thing that they have. And it is not necessary. It is not necessary. And this is what we need to see. And when we understand this, we will understand the move of God, okay, and we'll be able to demystify those things that we do not understand in this world. Okay? So this is what we see in Jeremiah.